Welcome to Enlightened World Network. Dr. Ruth Anderson here with Sue Broome. We're here for messages from your loved ones. Now we have the technology set up to support us. So messages from our loved ones. This is a beautiful time that Sue and I spend together once a month, and we receive your comments in the Facebook messages or in the chat on Facebook, and we listen to your loved ones that you have loved and lost that have gone to the ethereal realm, and we just see what messages we receive from them, and it's just a beautiful time. So if you are interested, please go onto the chat feature message. How would you say that, Sue? Go into the comments and put comments, somebody you would like to hear from.
And I'm sending you a message to see if it works.
Yep, it's working because Prachetta. Okay. Yay, perfect. Prachetta.
Oh,
Prachetta, are you hoping to hear from your loved ones today? I'm going to take that as a yes. All right. We're just, so Sue pulls up a card and she's going to show us the card she uses.
Got to get rid of that and move this over. And yeah, I don't know when I was saying this, but if you hear parrots or quail in the background, or the chimes on either side from Ruth or I, keep in mind that is all part of the message that's coming through, because they're not always active 100% of the time. Right. The chimes aren't going off 100% of the time. So it's very interesting when they chime in.
Like that. Now they're just showing off.
All right, so Miss Prachetta, let's see what we got. Let's see what we got. Oh, there is a healing of our hearts. I don't know that I've ever pulled this card before. I don't remember it.
I don't remember it.
So, but what it feels like, people think grieving people, I'll say people that are in the thick of grieving. So maybe their loved one just passed away, or they're, it's a birthday or anniversary. And they think that if they start going, thinking about memories or bring up their loved one and they start crying, they think it's like, I'll never stop. That's where the healing is. There's so much healing in just being in that time, being in, the memory, but being in, because when you are crying through whatever experience you are in, your loved one is right there. Imagine them, having their arm around your shoulder and the healing that's happening, because it's like they are so close that your hearts are one at that moment in time, because that's where the memories come from. That's where the connection is in our hearts. So when you are having a happy memory, or when you are having a sad memory, there's a healing of the heart that happens. And I think people don't realize that. It's like, no, I don't want to cry. It's like, it'll never stop. It's like, let it go. There's healing in it.
And Prachetta wrote that tomorrow is the 3rd anniversary of her mother's passing. Yeah.
Happy anniversary. Happy graduation day.
Prachetta, your mom just keeps this is so interesting. She's not showing me you. She's showing me your brother. And she is, and I'm getting goosebumps even saying that. It's as if he's sitting in a chair and she is really trying to caretake for him right now. I don't know if he's going through something but it feels like, I mean, almost like she's like in his face, like trying to give him tea or something, like, but like, I'm right here. Listen, pay attention to me. I am right here. And it just feels like he's so busy in his own thoughts that he can't see that she's right there, but she's really trying to connect with him. I mean, if you could just pass that on. But yeah, she's just like intently in his face. Yeah, I don't know. Sue, are you getting anything on that?
Well, it's interesting because how many times are we? Okay, I'm going to use a different example for the same thing. If you are in pain, I have a stomach ache, whatever. You're so focused on how much your stomach hurts that you are unable to feel the healing energy that is coming to you, or the healing energy that you have within, because you're so focused on the pain. And so what I hear you say is he's so focused on the loss and not remembering all the other times. So I think something, Prashetta, that you can do in a very, you don't have to be in his face. It's like, well, do this. It's like, just ask. It's like, do you remember when we were kids and we did this? Or do you remember when we went this place as a family and did this? Maybe you went to the zoo and you heard the birds out. Pick a memory where it was a family event and ask him. It's like, what do you remember about that? Or do you remember, just so get him talking from that perspective, because healing of the hearts, because then it's a shift in focus. It takes him off of the pain that he's feeling. And do you hear them? I mean, they're going crazy. Can you hear them?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can hear him. And she said Prachir is listening. Welcome, Prachir. Yeah, your mom just so wants you to know that she's right there.
Mm-hmm. It's just funny how they're out there, because they were not squawking that loud before. So
no, they weren't.
No. And just so I call them parrots, everybody calls them parrots, but they're the peach-faced lovebirds is what they are. They're about a little bit bigger than a parakeet, and they're green and they have vibrant blue, but their faces are that pretty peach.
I want those. We don't get those here.
No, they like the tropics,
Yeah,
the tropical feeling, and they like the palm trees.
They like the heat.
They like the heat.
Yeah. So let's talk about anniversary dates. So I know that your dad's birthday was just yesterday, right? Mm-hmm. And this year, March 15th, marks 10 years ago that my best friend Sylvia passed away. And 10 years, I just can't even fathom that was 10 years, feels like yesterday. But there is a bond, like a spiritual bond to us that comes through. Prachir is making mom's favorite food. There is something about that death date that is almost like a connection, I think, or, that birth date, but those dates do connect us. They hold us to that person in spirit.
Yeah, it's interesting because for my mom, I remember the day that she died, but I don't. For my dad, I have to look it up. But my mom, I remember, and there is something about that connection, and I think that is part of, for my mom, it was July 2nd. Okay, so for me, when I see a 7 or a 7-2 or a 702, that's also, or if I hear July 2nd, it's like, it's kind of a perk me up, just like it is at 6:14 for her birthday. So it is a connection, but I think we look at it as it's the connection that it's the day that they left us. A lot of people see it as that way. The day that they pass away, the day that they die, the language that we use, it's like it's the day that they left us. Well, they left this 3D world, but they didn't leave us. They're alive in our hearts. They're always, and I wore this little heart pendant. I don't wear this very often. And look at that.
Very sweet.
Because it's the heart connection that always keeps them alive. And just so you know, right now, for me, it is 10/21, which that's what I started really paying attention to, is because that's my birthday. And I always thought it was my angels, my loved ones on the other side, wishing me a happy birthday.
Aw.
That's how I always saw it from the time I was young.
That's so funny.
Mm-hmm.
Connection. Oh, and she said tomorrow is also her mom's favorite brother's birthday. So she died on her brother's birthday. The mom died on the mom's brother's birthday. Yeah. He turns 84. Oh, happy birthday.
And some people think that that's a bad thing. And it's another connection.
Yeah, on my grandmother died on my 23rd birthday. And my mom didn't tell me until the next day because she didn't want to ruin my birthday. To me, it's not, I don't feel like that. I mean, I was actually disappointed she didn't tell me, so I could just kind of really sit and feel with my grandma. But every birthday, I think of my grandma. I mean, to me, it's like the best gift to have a reason to remember her.
Yep.
So, yeah, I don't see it that way.
Yeah, I have a friend. So 2 daughters, parents, and my friend and her dad were really connected, and her mom and her sister. No, maybe I got it backwards, whichever way it was. Her dad died on her birthday. And it was like, oh yeah, okay. So yeah, because her mom because she always looked at it as she knew that her sister was daddy's favorite, but he died on my birthday. So it was a way for him to say, I love you.
Yeah. Think of me, I'm thinking of you.
Yeah. And actually, he's one, honestly, since I moved out here, since the first house I lived in Arizona. So I've been here. This is I think this is my 11th year. First house I lived in, across the street, their license plate was his birthday. So it's like, he has been watching over me so much since I moved to Arizona. It's just funny.
Wow. That's cool. That's cool. If anybody else would like to hear from a message from a loved one, please type their name in here. And until then, we're just going to chat a little bit.
Yeah, there's so many different connections. It's just so interesting. And I know my neighbor, I asked her if her friend has shown up yet, and she goes, no, I haven't. And I think that she's still more focused on the loss. Even though it's not that she's grieving so much. I don't feel like that, but I think it's just a new way of looking at things. It's like, oh, was that her favorite color? Or was that something that she liked to do? Or, thinking about all of those different things. Those are all the connections that we have.
Well, it's interesting. A friend of mine, her husband passed in January, and she has been seeing him around their home. And I'm the only one she can tell that to, because our other friends would, wonder what's going on with her. She sees him in the garden, she'll see him sitting across the room. And the other day she said, I'm worried because he always just looks so stern, like he's mad at me or something. And I said, I have to be honest with you. Every photo I have of him, he looks stern. He just,
Oh, that's funny.
I know. And I said, I don't see it as stern. It's, they talk about, some people, they talk about, oh, she's got a resting bitch face, right? It's just like not happy. And I think that's just sort of who he was. It's just sort of not smiling, not angry, but just neutral face. And to me, in spirit form, so many times I just see a neutral face, because I don't really think that when they're in spirit, unless it's like a celebration or something, I don't get a lot of emotion coming from what I'm observing in spirit. So to me, he's like right on, right? It's just like, yeah, he's just present. He said he's not grieving you. Like, I'm sorry, but he's not miserably grieving you. And I think she was a little sad about that at first. And I said, would you really want him grieving you like that? I mean, I said, he just looks at you with love. That's all. And it's just like he's just observing, but it's so interesting. She has an old flame that she adored, was going to marry him, but dad said no, kind of thing. So she has always held this candle for this other flame. Well, he passed years ago, and he would come visit her, and she would ask me, what, and then like 2 weeks before her husband died, the flames was showing up more. And I was saying, I think he's just showing support. I think he understands what's happening to you, and he's showing support. And the other day she goes, what happens when I die and they're both there? Like, who do I go to? Right. It was just funny. I said, I don't think you need to worry about that. I said, you can be with both of them. It's okay.
Yeah. Or Mondays there too. No, I don't think they worry about that.
I don't think so. And, they're probably soul brothers anyway. They're part of her soul family.
Yeah.
So they can all be together. It's really okay. But it is interesting, the thoughts that we have about our loved ones and what they're doing in the material realm.
Yeah, because I'm pretty sure they don't just sit on clouds and twiddle their thumbs.
I agree.
I think that, I think they're going through their learning as well. And I think they have healing that they need to do, depending on what happened in this lifetime. Kind of going through, well, did I cross off all the things that I set out to do? And if not, well, what could you do better? And is it something that you want to learn in the next lifetime, if you believe in that? Or is it something that, maybe we can work on it here in some way? So, yeah, it's not, there's learning that goes on everywhere, whether we're physical or not.
Yeah, I absolutely believe that. I do believe that they are continuing to learn over there. And in different meditations, I have actually seen two things. One is a healing pool. And I know, so you've been at the healing pool with me before in meditation. And it's a huge space in the ethereal realm where souls who have passed before and those who are still in body can go and receive healing. Now, this healing is on a spiritual, physical, emotional basis. A lot of support from the ascended masters, the angels, the spiritual divinity. So I have seen that healing pool. I have seen folks that have passed over before. They're at the pool. And it's just fascinating. And I have also seen in meditation going to, it looks almost like an outdoor learning environment. Like you can sit on a rock and watch an ascended master speak to the masses. And I have seen folks that are in the ethereal realm, folks that have passed on, they are watching these speakers. I know that these messages, these conferences, these lessons are being learned over there. It's just fascinating when I see those things. Have you experienced anything like that, Sue? Have you seen that?
Not exactly that way, but so this is a little different, but it's in the same vein. You know how there's inventors in our world. You know, somebody comes up with, they wake up and they had this dream and it's like, oh, I'm going to write this book or I'm going to invent this, blah, blah, blah. And they do it and, you know, they live to tell about it. Well, there are thoughts that go, it might be the exact same thought to multiple people at the same time. Right. And in fact, there was a book that I had, it was in the intro that this guy talked about it. And he said he had 2 angels in his living room and he was basically downloaded this book. And there was a guy he met years after he wrote the book and he told about how it came to him. There was a guy that he met that was a guitar player or something. And he said, same thing happened to me, same time, but he didn't know what to do with this information. He didn't have the expertise in how to write a book or, you know, the context or whatever. So I find it interesting that, so as these ascended masters are talking, they might be talking to the people that are on the other side, but they also might be sending out these thoughts to people that are still here through a dream or through, you know, inspiration. It's just so amazing. So many things we just don't know.
Right. But don't you think, and I've heard this before, that when you get a download, you get a message, if you don't act on it, somebody else will.
Yeah. Yeah. I do think it's not like, oh, missed that chance. Sorry, Earth, you know, you're never going to have that invention. No, I do think, because the other thing is, well, okay, I'm in the United States. Well, there's probably somebody in every other country that gets the same exact, because if it's inspiration for mankind, so to, you know, it would be beneficial to other countries as well.
Right. So do you think if you keep getting messages and you don't do anything with it, do you think that they stop giving you messages?
I don't know if it's necessarily a stop, but that also, it almost sounds to me like there's a free will, as in I'm toning it down a little bit. So, you know how people, when they're first opening up, it's like, oh, I want to hear, you know, a discussion. I want to have a discussion with my angels. I want to know what my angel's name is. And so they go through and do all kinds of meditations. Well, you get to a point where, okay, well, maybe life gets busy or you get on, so you don't hear as many messages. I think it's kind of like that. So they're still getting the messages, but maybe they're not hearing them as much because their focus is somewhere else. But I don't think it ever stops unless they say, I don't want to hear anymore. You know what? There's nothing I can do about it. There's nothing I know how to do about it. Something that they could say, if somebody is so frustrated, is maybe say, this is great information. Now send me help in how to disseminate the information. Because if I'm getting all this information and download or whatever, you know, whatever it is, and I don't know what to do with it, it's like, okay, you know what, you want me to have this information? Great. Send me the help I need to take the next step as well. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, it absolutely makes sense. I think it's fascinating. Somebody I was talking to this morning referred to that as spiritual complacency, which I thought was a fascinating term, and I've been mulling it around this morning. Yeah, I don't know. I'm just mulling that around.
Because that is like, oh, thanks, and just moving on, right?
Yeah, it's kind of like you're at a buffet. And when you start at the buffet, you're hungry and you're ravenous. And it's like, oh, that looks great. And I want some of that and a little bit of this. And oh, yeah. And you're telling everybody about the buffet. And by the time you get to dessert, you're kind of like, I'm good.
Yeah, that's a good analogy. That is a good analogy. I suppose it's like, when I had a friend here a couple of weeks ago and we went to lunch. We're driving down a road, and this was like other side of Phoenix. And the neighborhood was the brick walls around all the houses, but the road was it was a 2-lane going each way, and there was in the middle, there was, all kinds of foliage and stuff. And you could see the mountains in the distance, not snow-capped like Ruth has, but you could see the mountains in the distance and all kinds of palm trees. And it was just beautiful. And her cousin lives in that area. And she goes, aren't you just in awe driving down these roads? And she goes, no, I see it all the time. So it's just like,
yeah, complacent.
Yep, exactly. And then that's why I'm grateful. I open up my windows. And it's like, oh, I'm so grateful for the fruit trees. I'm so grateful for the parrots and the quail making all their noise, and the bunnies that keep me in humor.
Yeah, well, you're still finding the awe and the wonder. Yeah. Yeah. When I drive up the road, I see the foothills of the Rocky Mountains. And every time it's like, look at that. And I grew up here, and every morning I look at that. Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's beautiful. And it definitely is something to keep. Because it's like the flame in your heart, the pilot light is continually going, and maybe when the awe wears off, if it ever does, it's like the pilot light for the beauty that is before you is out.
Right. Interesting conversation. So Yvonne Lawson Shelton is on with us here, and Yvonne would like to hear from her little sister. Oh, I'm sorry, Lori Lawson Arnett. Yvonne, thanks for being here.
I think she's a first timer.
I don't recognize the name. Yeah.
Oh, welcome. Welcome. I see a very young girl, whether she was that young when she passed away, or I'm just seeing her as her sister is very young, like 3 or 4, almost, very. And I think with kids that age, there's still such an awe about them, running up to a butterfly or running up to the flowers. There's still so much magic that they see in the world. All right, let's see. What do I have? Oh, I will sing you a song. Yeah. So, and kids, that's one thing too, where kids are like, they don't care what they sound like. But I feel like I almost feel like one of the two of you sang the other one a song, or maybe you sang it together, but it was one of those things where, if one of you is is feeling blue, then the other one would start singing the song and kind of pester and keep singing. It's like, I'm not going to listen. It's like, and then all of a sudden you start giggling. And by the time the song is getting going, it's like you're both kind of giggling and you're out of that mood. I feel like there's something, whether it's a specific song or just singing in general, but I feel like there's that kind of connection. So whether it was a song or whether it was something else, I think that, and I don't feel it going only one way. So it wasn't you toward her or her toward you. It was kind of a back and forth. You could kind of pick at the other one and get the other one out of a sour mood, as they say.
I'm hearing the giggling, definitely hearing the giggling. But there was also just like some, back and forth stuff. Definitely. But what's so interesting, Yvonne, with me, how Lori presented to me is different than how she presented to Sue, which is kind of unusual because a lot of times we're just like so in sync. So I think what this is that with Sue, she was showing you the connection with you. I think with me, what she's showing me is what she's doing there in the other realm. And so what I see and I'm getting total goosebumps on that, which to me is a confirmation that I'm saying what I'm seeing. What she showed me was her in like her young 30s. And she's showing me a very robust, happy, loving, just able to bring people together and create family, even from folks that don't know each other. And of course, neither Sue nor I have any idea what her life was like here or how she presented herself here. We only show you the energetic imprints that we're given. Now, sometimes someone can be very unhappy here in this physical realm. And then when they're free in spirit to truly be who their soul is, they can have a much broader, expansive, able to love version of themselves. Mm-hmm. She's very comfortable loving other folks up there and allowing herself to be loved up there. Very robust. So that's what I was seeing. So Yvonne, I would be fascinated to have you just type in a couple of words about what Lori was like here in the 3D realm. I'm sorry for your loss. It stinks to lose a sibling. So Sue can tell you it stinks to lose a sibling.
Yeah. Yeah. Interesting.
Well, what I'm seeing too, I don't believe that the familial bloodline family is as important in the ethereal realm as it is here, because to me, everybody's kind of connected in the ethereal realm. So there's not that delineation of, oh, this is my mother, this is my daughter kind of thing, but just folks being there for each other, regardless of what you call that actual connection. But.
Well, and it's interesting too, because you think about, you came into this world with these people, connected to these people.
Yeah.
And so the things that your soul is saying, hey, and sometimes it's obvious, at least after the fact, that I came to learn this or whatever. Whereas the lessons that we learn from the friends we pick up along the way, they might be the same, but they might be, very different, because we choose our friends. And of course they do say that we choose our families as well, which I believe on a soul level that we do, but not We might be down here thinking it's like, and why did I pick you?
What was I thinking?
Did you put something in my coffee that day? But yeah, so it's just very interesting, the lessons that we came in to learn. And, maybe it's the lessons that we came in to learn with our blood family. And then the friends that we pick up along the way, we test out to see, did we really learn it? They might be helping us. Like, did you really learn that lesson?
Right. The soul family versus the, yeah. Okay. She says, both sounds right. She was both. She got cancer at 34, passed at 38. That was in 2004. We were very close, last two at home. It's interesting, Yvonne, because while Sue was talking, what I was seeing here in the 3D, that Lori's presence was very constricted. It was small. And that could have been from being sick or other life circumstances. But that when she got to the ethereal, that she was able to just blossom into all of her fullness. Yeah, it's just very different. The constricted look on the 3D versus the robustness of the ethereal realm.
That's really an interesting comment, Ruth, because many times when people are sick with some, so-called fatal illness or a diagnosis, their world does get very small.
Very small, yeah.
Versus, and not everybody, because some people it's like, all they do, it's like, here's my list of doctor's appointments or the things that I have to do to take care of this, whatever this prognosis or diagnosis is. Versus, so I'll tell you the other half with a story. A friend of mine met this lady, and she was an older lady. She was in her, 80s or 90s. And she had just bought a house, and she had given the prognosis that she had some kind of brain cancer that was going on. And it was like stage 4, she finds out about it and it's bam. It's like, okay. So what she did was she went to Vegas, and she had this dream that she was going to drive to Vegas with a couple different friends. So she did. And she was there for a couple of days, and she did this and she did that. And it's like, she wasn't surrounded by, here's what you got to do. It's like, she just had fun. She just lived her life.
Well, and really, isn't that all we're wanting to do anyway, is just live?
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah. Did she actually pass?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But she also went out, with living life large.
Well, none of us have any idea really when we're, but are you aware of what you still want to get done? And is this the perfect time to blow it out and do those things that you want to do? Because you don't know how long you're going to have.
Right. Right. Yvonne said that her sister passed when she was 34. Is that what you said?
Passed at 38.
38. So, she got sick when she was 34. Yeah. And you don't know. My mom was 32. It's like, her birthday was on June 14th, and she passed on July 2nd. So she was 32 in 2 weeks, It's like,
yeah, that's way too young. Way, way too young.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you don't know.
But I love the fact, Yvonne, your sister died 19 years ago, and you're still holding her here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Because for some people, it's too hard to talk about. I don't remember growing up, because I was 14. I don't remember having conversations about my mom.
Wow.
I mean, somebody, some friends might say something, but it wasn't like, I mean, until this lady that I know that knew both my mom and dad, until she said, your mom had such a wonderful laugh. I'm like, she did? I didn't remember that.
Hmm. Do you have photos of her from, do you look like her? Or do you look more like your dad?
People that know both, they'll say you look like him, you look like her. So, and sometimes I do think I look like her because I'll see her looking back at me in the mirror.
Oh, that's cool.
So sometimes I think that, but yeah, I don't know. Interesting world we live in, that's for sure.
I think if one were to say, oh, you look just like your mother, your dad would be going, excuse me. I think you are probably very much a blend of both of them. I feel both of them coming through you, actually.
Yeah. Well, and she was so busy having kids, man. It's like, the first one, my brother was a year older, and he was born, I think she was still 17, I'm pretty sure. But by the time she was 22, she had 5 kids.
Well, she had to hurry.
Yeah, she had a lot to do. Like crazy. So popping those babies out. I mean, actually because 59, 60, 62, 63, and 66.
Wow.
So.
Well, I wonder, maybe in some way she knew she was going to pass young, and to get them all out into the world, she needed to get going.
Yeah, she may have, because she used to do a lot of stuff. I mean, so I say back then, because this would have been in the 70s, where I remember her taking us down to Chicago, to go to the Children's Science Museum or whatever it's called. I was like, I don't know whether there was 4 or 5 of us at the time, but it's like, still, that's a lot.
That's a teacher with a field trip going on there. That's
Yeah.
That's a lot. Ah, so sweet. Well, happy birthday to your dad yesterday. Happy anniversary to Prachetta and her family. So yeah, Yvonne, thank you for being here. So Sue, thank you so much for this time today. And friends, thanks for being here at Enlightened World Network. We will have this show again next month. What day is that, Sue?
April 10.
Okay, April 10, same time, same place. We look forward to seeing you all here then. So take good care. God bless. We'll see you all soon.